the panelists to kindly come up and take their place. Mr. Pradeep Chopra, Mrs. Minnie Joseph, Miss Minnie Joseph, Ma'am Brotuti Bhattacharya, and the Vice Chancellor of the Sister Nivedita University. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the post-lunch session. You will agree that I have a daunting task because I stand between you and your 40 wings, especially after the grand meal that we had and the looming phony that is, above our head. And so you will have to bear with us. You have attended many education conferences like me. And, one of the major stakeholders of education, the children, are sometimes missing. But thanks to Bengal Chambers, they have brought in the students who are the key stakeholders of education. And so this afternoon, it's my privilege to introduce to you a wonderful panel comprising the students, eminent educationists, and teachers who make education happen. I have with me, among the senior panelists, Ma'am Brotuti Bhattacharya, Secretary General of Sri Shiksha School and Foundation, Professor Ashok Ranjan Thakur, Vice Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University, Mr. Pradeep Chopra, Chairman, iLead Kolkata, and Ms. Minnie Joseph, Senior English Teacher, St. Xavier's Collegiate School. I will come to the student panelists in a short while from now. These students who you see here are multifaceted with diverse learning abilities and interests. And they are the apt people to be here to discuss on what we say the topic, to reboot education in sync with one goal, and that is to look forward. And therefore, this afternoon, may you have an energizing time. From the morning, we have heard from various eminent people about 21st century learning, about
something coming as a deterrent in his or her success doesn't arise in the first place, because a polymath will take whatever experience that comes in his way as a stepping stone towards success. Even if it is a failure, it acts as a guidance towards his future. It acts as arrowhead towards what lies ahead, even when he's trying something new. For instance, ladies and gentlemen, let's say a person X is doing an activity Y. So he or she has faced the ups and downs that comes with that particular activity. And hence, due to his gathered experience doing that particular activity for a considerable period of time, when he tries something new, when he expands his horizons, he will know the kind of things that might be in store for him or her. And hence, this experience that which he has gathered, this knowledge and expertise that he has achieved so far in doing what he has done will act as a head start in whatever new thing that he's trying, and will automatically propel him or her to achieve new standards of brilliance. Because a polymath, as even the teachers have pointed out, that a polymath never rests in peace and never quietens down. A polymath always tries to learn and keeps on learning, because learning has no age. And that is what a true person, a true polymath who is deemed as one, will always strive to do. Thank you, ma'am.
Divyanshi, yes, of course, why not? Give her a hand. Divyanshi, what do you want to become? Have you decided or?
Ma'am, currently, since I'm in 11, I have chosen humanities as my subject stream, and I do wish to pursue civil services as my job and my ambition, professional ambition, and that is primarily because, ladies and gentlemen, the reason that I have chosen civil services as my primary aim is because of one very simple reason, and is because of a very practical one as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I live in an apartment complex. So it's just two buildings with 5 floors, quite an old building. And outside the entire colony is rows and rows of slums and what in colloquial language we call bastis. And there is a whole expanded area of a marketplace, a typical Calcuttan market setting. So every day while on my way to school, I come across instances of how people with such comparatively such different and such difficult hardships that they face on a daily basis still manage to, at the end of the day, collect it with and finish it with a smile. And what I think is that being a girl coming from a middle class family who is comparatively much more privileged than them, we have the power and we have the ability to make a difference in their lives. And that's why this passion was, let's say, ignited in my heart to become a civil servant, because I genuinely looking at their living conditions, which is often quite inhuman. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a change in their lives and not just sit at home at, let's say, a comparatively different angle and keep on complaining about the kind of problems we face, rather than go out there and be a part of a solution. And that is what I feel should be the kind of main element in the kind of education that we are planning on introducing as a rebooted version of it. Thank you, ma'am.
Very good. And that actually gives me the opportunity to ask Parikshit Roy Chowdhury, class 11 of St. Xavier's Collegiate School. You, of course, tell me what are your interests and what you would like to do. But what kind of a curriculum you would want? You are in a curriculum, but do you have any suggestions, or are there certain things in the wish list that you would like to have that will help you to reach your goal?
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's an absolute honor to be over here. Now, I'm Parikshit Roy Chaudhary from St. Xavier's Collegiate School, and I'm an avid debater. I love to read, love to write, and I'm also quite a bit into a sport called lawn bowls, which I think a number of people wouldn't know about. Now, coming to the question that ma'am came about, now, what I want to do in life is prepare for my CPA exams in the United States of America, and along with that, pursue a bit of psychology and a bit of law. Now, considering the fact that the curriculum that we face nowadays in our school, we have...
I make sure that I schedule my entire timetable in such a way that I can invest quality time for my debate researches and rehearsals without affecting my academics. I think it's very important to be smart, and how to smartly manage your time and execute, like properly organizing time and working accordingly. Because for any polymath, I think along with being a hard-working person, you have to be smart, and you need to know how to use your time in such a way so that you can do what you love and love what you do. So I also assign myself very small deadlines. For example, it's very important for all of us to work on smaller goals. Like all of us, we have a certain ambition in our lives, like I'm talking about the young people. I think it's very important to listen to the need of the hour. For example, before, like last night, my small goal was I'll come here and I'll speak my heart out in this conference. So it's important for us to work on our smaller goals. And suppose in the forthcoming week, I have 3 or 4 events coming up, I make sure I plan them. So I plan my week accordingly so that I can give enough time for all of my curriculum activities, because I'm also a NEET aspirant, and I think to be a doctor, before treating someone, you need to serve the patient. We do not treat patients, we do not cure them, we need to serve them. Because as we were talking about artificial intelligence, I think it's very important as doctors to be a friend first. And I would also like to talk about online learning, because it's important for us to put the technology into good use. Because today we have a lot of online platforms, like we have companies, they are coming up with online courses. So we need to know how to avail them at the right time so that we can balance our academics along with our co-curriculum. Because we need to develop our physical, mental, and socially we need to develop. So I feel that in order to be yourself, you need to put a special effort in your co-curriculum domain as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shrishta. Yes, I remember when I was a small girl, and when my family doctor would walk in, just looking at his face, I would be cured. So a doctor heals so much by just his or her presence. And so therefore, yes, a doctor uses many skills other than just the medical one or the clinical one. Turning to Professor Ashok Ranjan Thakur, the Vice Chancellor of Sister Nivedita University. Sir, how is your university preparing students to face this 21st century challenges that are coming up, where, professions are no longer going to remain for 20 years in the same domain? So how are you preparing your students?
I think the first principle of pedagogy is to make students learn how to learn, nothing else. Because change is the rule of the game. I would make a digression, and being pretty senior, I would go back 50 years, almost to my school days, like the young guys over here. And I remember in my class, there was one student who was absolutely obstructive and creating disorder in the class, and even the teachers got pissed off. And one day, when he was asked, he said that actually I don't like this thing. Later on, he turned out to be one of the foremost literary person, taught abroad, and still manages to have a wonderful polymath type of understanding of different areas. And all of us met after 50 years, and we all agreed that we had a brilliant teacher, not the science teacher, who taught us how to think about science. That teacher gave us a simple test, and I can ask all the 5 young guys to try that. Take a piece of strip of paper, take it to your lips, and blow across. What would you see? You would see that the paper is horizontal to the ground. The question is not in the phenomenon. The question is asking, why is it so? Actually, it relates to the basic Bernoulli's equation, pressure into velocity, and that is what keeps the planes afloat. Leonardo was mentioned over here as a Renaissance man. Have you ever thought that Leonardo created those helicopters 200 years ahead of the first formulation of the Bernoulli's equation of aerodynamics? So, what is all that? He kept on wondering. I think that is the essence of science. Similarly, Richard P. Feynman has also spoken about being curious, wondering about things. And the other parts, I believe, we in our older days would say that become a good person or man, that would include all empathy and everything else. So, in our university, I have to come to that, what we have started doing, and fortunately for me, I'm a very privileged person. At this late age, for the first time, I'm coming to interact with very youngsters because throughout my life, I've been teaching only postgraduate students. What we try to give them is a choice, a real choice of what they would like to do with themselves. All that we ask them is that get 50% of your credit in one of the areas and you major in that. But frankly speaking, what you are going to get the degree on, 15 years down the line, maybe you would have moved ahead. Because you would find other interesting things, other interesting ways of looking at life. So what we are trying to instill in our student SSN is giving them the choice and making education fun. If you can combine these two, if you can enjoy what you are studying, then it doesn't matter what problem you confront, you would pick up the tools to solve the problem. And that is where learning how to learn comes into question. If you do not know that, if you just memorize things, you can score 100 out of 100. But that is not going to take you anywhere because the next time something more complicated comes, you wouldn't know how to approach the problem. So, again, getting back to SNU, we are instilling this kind of freedom amongst our students, asking them to become experimentalists, exploring themselves. And there are regulatory authorities which clamp down on a lot of things. We use a lot of digitized environment to ensure that they get support. But please remember, the dialogue with the teacher is one of the essential part. Here the teacher is not a teacher. He or she is a facilitator who is a friend and wants to learn more about the subject together with you. Maybe with a better understanding because of the better comprehension. That's all.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, that's the right thing, that give them the freedom of choice and then let them learn what they want to. And you did mention about teachers are just facilitators. Very true, education is not, we should say educare. We care for others. I think that's the essence of education. And thank you very much for telling the young people on my left. And so it brings me to my last panelist this afternoon, Purushottam Chaudhary of Class 10. He's the youngest member in the panel from National High School. Purushottam, I would like to ask you, don't look at all the, the very eminent people around. Just speak your heart, because the topic is rebooting, okay? Something that you can shift and control and delete. Just close your eyes if you want to and tell us, what are some of the things you would like to change?
Thank you, ma'am. I don't know how to do it differently, right? I'm the last panelist here, my senior panelist and my friends have done it, everything. But I'll try my best. See, it's nothing new in telling that education is changing slowly, right? Note that slowly. Sometimes I feel like snail get faster to the finish line. See, if we compare today's world with the world 150 years ago, you'll see everything has changed now. Literally everything. With the phone you use, with the television, chairs and everything, I feel. But that classroom, the classroom remains the same. So don't you think how much time will it take for the teachers who do the most important job on this planet to meet the requirements of 21st century with the tool of 20th century? That is a thing of concern, They are trying their best, but we are not getting that product. Today, the system is like that. We focus on rote learning, regurgitating information, test taking, filling OMR sheets, making products with grades A, B, C, D, and F, where F stands for failure. I ask you a question. Why F stands for failure? Why does not it stand for find another answer? It should be like find another answer. You know, Albert Einstein once said, everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And this happens today, a class of 40 students where they have different IQs, different interests, different ambitions, different views, but they are taught the same subject. So don't you think this is unfair? What I believe is, I'm a student, ma'am said, I close my eyes and I tell everything. I pardon teachers that they do not beat me when I go to school next day. Whenever
Dare not.
whenever we sit in the class, you know, we think, oh, it's now maths class. So we are totally into numbers. Algebra, numbers, geometry, circles, nothing out of that. And then very next moment, the bell rings and we are into world of literature. So we feel like we are in different containers that is not connected to any of the world now. What I feel is that, why should not there be a common thread, a common platform where everything is connected so that the students relate to everything? It should not be like it's maths, so only we'll read maths. Teachers can do this. The next point which I come to is, the student gets bored, right? They look at the clock and they just want it runs fast and the bell rings and we go to home. So don't you feel that everyone here want good grades, but they cannot? Why? They forget what they learned. They forget what the teachers teaches them. Now, let me tell you, education, we are talking about education. Education comes from a Latin root, educe, which means to bring out, i.e., to bring out one good and make it viable. So we need to bring out the good in a student, and that's the thing. He'll be happy to do that, apart from getting grades. Now, if a student asks the teachers, ma'am, can I climb a tree? Either she'll beat him or she'll tell, you better focus on your studies. Why not let him climb the tree so that next day he comes with some insects and after 10 years we see him being the entomologist? That is good. That is creative. So basically what I feel is that the teachers should inculcate. I am not telling about teachers. You know, the teachers have the most important job on this planet. I'm talking about the system. Not after grades. We are not making robots. We are not making products. We are human beings. We need to produce human beings, a true human beings. And for that, the human beings need skills, creativity, so that they stand outside the world with critical mind, a mind where they can, which is innovative, and they know how to create. So I thank you, ma'am, for asking me this question. That yes, I think we need to change in order to develop, in order to succeed. And this is how society, a nation is built. And if we can customize cars and Facebook pages, it's our duty to do with education. Because while students may be 20% of the population, we are 100% of the future. Thank you.
Okay. Can I have two comments to make? First, I appreciate your points. There is a system of evaluating students. It is called grading. And most of the time, people give marks and then convert that to grade. But that's not the right way. The grading and the mark giving have a philosophical difference, according to me. Because when you are marking, you are trying to put everybody in an hierarchy. As you rightly said, there can be slow learners, persons with low IQ in the same class. But when you grade, actually you are looking at the individual's excellence and you are grading him or her based on that. That method is available now. The only thing that we are too constrained to use it. We still fall back on first giving the marks, then converting it to grades. If we could shift to giving grades individually, then this hierarchical differentiation would go away. The second point, in a few countries in Europe, especially in Finland, now they are making, say, a study of a particular country, including its history, geography, sociology, all put together. The understanding is it's a holistic way of developing. Again, perhaps we shall wait for another 20 years before we can adopt that, because the problem lies not with those ministers. They appoint committees which are populated by people like us, and it is our mindset which stops them from doing it. So maybe if you could raise your voice and say that we would like to study like this, and given the choice, we shall recover.
Thank you so much for that commitment, okay? This is what, we wanted to do this afternoon, that both the sides, both the stakeholders hear each other, and then they come to a common point where they understand their mind and they bring in those changes so that we can reboot education so that the next dawn will be different, where the young people will be able to follow their heart, and we, their teachers or mentors, will be there to support them. Shukonna tells me it's time to wind up, but before I end the discussion, if there is any questions from the house to any particular panelist, kindly introduce yourself and direct the question. Yes, the gentleman there with a cap.
Myself, a retired teacher, and for 35 years as a teacher of mathematics. So I have many students all over the continents, all over the world, in every continent. But I am sometimes surprised that some of them ask about my health at this age, how I don't know, but sometimes I feel that at the time of teaching, at my teaching career, I did something for them. And what was that? I think about it. I see in my teaching career, the most important thing was inspiration. Inspiration more than just teaching them or helping them to do some problems in the correct way.
Thank you so much. Sir. I don't think you had a question, but you wanted to share with us. Thank you. Yes, gentleman on my left, yes. Two more questions and then we'll wind up.
Ma'am, may I request your comments on what I'm going to say? That great teachers like Aristotle and Socrates, etc., these people didn't come and lecture to the students or learn the topic themselves or prepare themselves and then teach. They said it is not our job to teach. We are not going to teach. We will facilitate learning. We will form a group. You all do this, you all do this, you all do this, and then get together, and the entire class gets insights on what these five or six have done. Could you comment on this?
Yes, actually that's a wonderful way. Anybody here would like to, on the panel, would like to answer that? Yes? Okay, Mini.
I think, hello, I think group teaching or peer learning is one of the best forms of learning. When children sit in groups of 5 or 6 and they take up a topic and they discuss it among themselves, then the slow learners as well as the bright ones both get a chance to air their views, and those who are slow are usually diffident. They get the right opportunity to learn from the bright ones, and there's a lot of sharing that takes place. So when knowledge is shared, then I think greatest amount of knowledge is imbibed. Because if it's just learned from theory, that's from the books, you just learn the formulae or even the concepts or just take down what the teacher says, then there's only about 10 to 20% that may be imbibed. But when students share their experiential learning, I think that's when the learning would be optimum.
Thank you, Minnie. I think Brotuti had a
Yes, I had a question for all these students. Today we are talking about, being a polymath, okay? And we are talking about rebooting. If that is so, the question is that, well, if you would like to do so many things parallelly, do you feel the curriculum should be such that such things should be blended in our learning system? That you want to be a cricketer, okay? I teach you cricket through doing mathematics. So we learn cricket as well as mathematics together. Okay, can that be done? So this is a question. This is a question to many of the educators out here, because we have the universities who are giving so many opportunities. I think our curriculum should be such that we can blend their thinking, their extra co-curricular, and not treat that as a co-curricular. Just blended, yes, not extra, It has to be a part of academics, and we teach through that because every child is unique.
One very short comment. Actually, at SNU, what we do for our undergraduate students, the first class for any subject is a blended class. That means a physics honors class of 101 would be attended by chemistry major students, sociology major students, if they want to, because that's their choice. The understanding is, once you have a mixed class, just as what you said, then the interesting questions can come from different domain knowledge area. And as for your cricketing and mathematics being played together, or physics, think of a river swing. Why does it occur? Why do you have to have one surface rough, the other smooth, in order to get the river swing coming at a later stage? There's a lot of physics involved in that. Or a carved ball in a baseball, or a bicycle goal that is executed, which dips just into the net at the crossbar. So these are the physics. So think of the problem, use the tool that you would like to, and then you get a blended education.
In other words, the changes are already happening, and we can hope that in the days to come, there will be a different type of learning that will happen, different way pedagogy will be done, and therefore, the 21st century learner will be satisfied. And so thank you so much, panelists, for being here this afternoon. And thank you very much. Oh, okay.
Thank you on behalf of the GP.
I just wanted to ask a question. As far as I know, when students do their class 9, 10, class 11, 12, they are limited. I'll take off from exactly, ma'am, what you said. They are limited to science, 3 or 4 subjects. And when we look at alternative careers today, when students go to institutes, they have 128 alternative careers, from design to gaming to a whole lot of stuff. I'm just saying, when students are at a young age, especially when they're in class 7 and 8, they're already defining their like and what they love doing. If in the normal courses of class 10, the various examinations, they could choose, out of a handful of 10 or 20 career options, it could be designing, it could be gaming, it could be graphics, it could be animation. So if someone's doing science, he can actually do animation as an additional paper, which can be marked. And I think it can be done. I'm just curious, you know, with so many alternatives in terms of careers and students loving so much when you go to see. It could be art, it could. Why isn't it being done? Why is it taking so long for the boards to kind of add on 10 more options to the mainstream? Merge it with science, merge animation, merge gaming, merge a lot. I really wish it could be done.
I think, Jimmy, I can speak for the ISC board. There is only English which is compulsory, and the rest of it, there are more than 22 or 24 subjects, a bouquet of subjects you can choose as you want. And so we have students who take maybe history and science because they want to dabble and they want to learn more. So it's happening.
I love this. But you know what? As you said, history and science.
Yes.
Why not animation and science?
Yes.
Why not gaming and science?
That is why we are here.
Yeah, I know.
We are here. We are talking
if
about it.
this happens
Correct.
today, trust me, I think the children
Yes.
will actually follow that line. You know,
Right.
I love what I do and I do what I love and I'll do well.
Right,
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the day is not really far when
Actually,
we may be having...
we have to
Isn't it?
proceed with our next speakers also. And I'm repeatedly telling us the weather is not too good today. We don't
Yes.
want to delay our sessions.
Yeah, for another day, we'll meet
Yes,
again.
we will
Thank
have
you
a
very
separate
much.
panel discussion at Bengal Chamber with this. I will just request, we want to honor our panelists here, which includes students as well as our industry representatives. I request Mr. Molay Dotto, Ms. Suman Sood to please come up and hand over a token of appreciation on behalf of the chamber. Mr. Molay Dotto and Ms. Suman Sood are both part of our education committee. We would first like to hand over a certificate to Shrestha Basu Roy Chaudhary from Sri Shikshayatan School for participating with us. If you may please come a bit forward. Devyanshi Sharda. In the meantime, if some friends from our hotel can remove the chairs. Devyanshi Sharda from La Martenia for Girls. Puruttam Chaudhary of National High School. Parikshit Roy Chaudhary from St. Xavier's Collegiate School. Rick Mukherjee from Don Bosco Park Circus. I think all of them are brilliant panelists for our today's session, and this session they have really made the difference. I would now request to hand over a token of appreciation on behalf of the chamber to our fantastic moderator, Srimati Rupkatha Sarkar. Our very own Brotati Bhattacharya. Ms. Joseph. Mr. Pradeep Chopra. And Professor Ashok Ranjan Thakur. Dr. Ashok Ranjan Thakur, please. Thank you so much. Now we are coming up with another very unique session, which we have named as Living Your Dreams. Here in this session, you will get to hear from those icons who have chosen alternate career or who are in some kind of profession but have pursued their passion in such a way that it has created history. May I now request Mr. Jimmy Tangri to be on the dais, Mr. Paul Walsh, who will be moderating the session on behalf of the chamber, Dr. Soumitra Dotto, and the great Mr. Irfan Ahmed.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is going to be the final session of the day now, I think, because we're going to wrap up a little bit early because of the weather moving in. I think that's right. Oh, okay, in this evening, yes. So this session is called Living Your Dreams. Living Your Dreams. So we have 3 people here who may be living their dreams. We're going to find out this afternoon. Maybe living them fully, maybe living them just a small amount, but hopefully can tell us a little bit about how they ended up living their dreams, the challenges they've faced, the fears they've faced. Certainly in my own situation, I never had the dream that I'd be sitting or standing in Calcutta at this time in my life, talking about living my dreams. But that's my story, and today we're here to hear about the stories on the stage. So we have 3 people with us, 3 guests, 3 eminent dreamers, possibly. We have Irfan Ahmed, mixologist of Calcutta, I think is a good description. We have Jimmy Tangri, who everybody is very familiar with his voice and his dulcet tones, and who we just heard about his kind of passions, which almost never stopped. And we have Dr. Sumitra Dutta, who is a pediatrician and photographer. So already we're getting into the scope of what we've been talking about today, having alternative ideas, being experts in more than one field. Earlier today I spoke and I started with a quote, so I'm just going to introduce Jimmy, but first a small quote. And it comes from Eleanor Roosevelt, and I just saw it online a few moments ago. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. The future belongs to those who believe in the future of their dreams. I was very intimidated by those young people. They scared the hell out of me. But it was also incredible to see how they were dreaming, how they had such specific and good ideas about their futures. And that was great. Now, to begin, I'd like to ask Jimmy to tell us a little about your dreams. Tell us if this is where you dreamt that you would be and how you got to where you are now. Jimmy.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, being out here. Talking about from a very young age, I kind of fell in love with music. I never realized that I would one day be in radio, be in DJing. I never even thought about it. I come from a business family, so generally when you're expected to get into business, you're expected to get into being with your dad, being with family business. But as I always say this line, which I said it some time ago, is do what you love and love what you do, and you will really do it well. Life is never easy, it's how easy you make it. Because you can live your dream and enjoy it and be successful at it. So, my story started by mistake. It started by mistake. I used to listen to a lot of radio and I loved music. So anything to do with music had to kind of attract me. So what happened when I finished my class 10, I remember I got my first motorcycle. And I used to visit this place every Saturday night for the jam session at the Calcutta Swimming Club. So the DJ used to play music from 8 p.m. right till 12 midnight. And I used to go and enjoy the music because I thought, come on, it's one place where you get to hear great music and people playing it. Otherwise, our only entertainment used to come from radio, which was BBC, Radio Kuwait, Radio Australia, the chart-busting songs which I used to kind of hear on radio. But one fine day, destiny had it. The DJ had one too many, and while playing the music, fell off to sleep. The music stopped, It was a complete blackout. And suddenly one of the committee members, who were a lady at the Calcutta Swimming Club, called me and said, Jimmy, why don't you start DJing from next Saturday? So I was zapped. I said, but I've never done it. But all she said, and she said one line, Jimmy, you love music. I believe you can do it. And again, me being adventurous, I said, why not? Yeah, try karta hai, koi tension nahi usme. So the next Saturday, I went with my world of music, which was 6 audio cassettes. That was my world of music. Way back in 1983 February. I still remember that time. And I started DJing with a Sonodyne tape deck, a Cosmic tape deck, a Cosmic amplifier, and 4 broken down speakers at the Calcutta Swimming Club. No one taught us, no one told us what to do. There was no high-tech equipment, nor there was any guidance like which happens today. So there it began. Those days, I couldn't speak to save my life. So after 2 years of me jamming on the floors at Saturday Calcutta Swimming Club, and it was getting into a very successful mode. Huge crowds were coming in on a Saturday night. The hall's tables and chairs used to be cleared in the center. Families, kids, till 9 o'clock, and then of course the teenagers used to dance right till 12 midnight. So since it was doing well, the club planned to get in a big, powerful system. That system, fortunately, had a mixer and a mic also attached to it. So my logic was, I used to hear a lot of radio, and these guys used to speak so well. They used to announce the songs. So I used to always try to imagine myself doing that. So when the big system came in, I still remember that day, I took the mic and I said, come on, I must do it this time. I announced the wrong song. I played another song. And after about 15 seconds, the mic fell out from my hand. That's how I kind of started speaking on the mic. But the thing behind all this was, I loved music. So I will do it. I will attempt whatever it required because I enjoy music. And then as life progressed, I'm going to make it very short. As life progressed, I still remember in 1994, I got a call from Taj Bengal, 11 years later, saying that, Jimmy, we'd like you to start our discotheque, The Incognito. Again, I had never done professional DJing. So I told this gentleman, I said, sir, I've never done professional DJing. He said, you speak decently and you play great music. You can do it. And I really appreciate people believing in me because that kind of gives you, the enthu to go forward. And there I started DJing at Taj. In 1994, I got a call from a very senior gentleman in one of the media houses saying, we are planning to start a radio station. We'd like you to join us. So I turned around and told him, excuse me, I've never done radio. Again, he said one single line, Jimmy, you speak well. I think you will do it. And then my logic was, it'll keep me attached to music. Why not? So I still remember the first day I walked into a radio studio. Because in those days, private FM had 8 hours on a single frequency called 107 megahertz. Government was auctioning 2 hours to each player. So there were 8 hours on the same frequency. I still remember the 26th of July, 1994. I walked into the All India Radio Studios because that's where we used to broadcast from, the private FM players. And when I walked in, it was all double Dutch. I'd never seen a radio studio in my life. There was this engineer from Delhi, and he told me, I said, "Bhai, kya karna hai?" He said, "Kuch nahi karna, I just put up the mic slider and talk." So it seems easy. Chalo, let's try it. So at 7 o'clock sharp, top of the hour came on, that's the music on the hour. And then I remember I just said 2 words. I don't know, I said, "Good morning, Calcutta," or I said, "Hey there," something I said. I didn't realize my voice was so powerful. The VU meters on the mixer went to the red. The mixer tripped. The transmission tripped. After 2 words, in my first thing of a radio career, I was off air for 3 minutes. But the learning continued. And important thing here is, when I still remember when I told my parents the first day when I was told to start DJing at the Calcutta Swimming Club on a Saturday, my dad said, "Beta, you enjoy music, you love it, go ahead." My mom was more encouraging. In fact, she used to get very excited when I used to kind of play songs for her, and she used to enjoy music. In fact, family became a part of music. And why I'm saying this? Because in today's world, and I've experienced that, lot of parents still insist, nahi, doctor banna hai, engineer banna hai, ya science lena hai. And some way or another, I still believe institutions are our home. We spend more time in school and colleges than we spend at the house. So it's important. The mummies and papas in our institution, which I always say, who are our teachers, they are literally like mum and dad to us. I think they also need to convince the mum and dad at home that let your children do what they love to do. You know, that's the reason why I said, today, even parents will change their attitude. You know, if, along with the usual subjects, I have a choice of 20 subjects. Because if I'm doing science, and I get an alternative animation, graphics, robotics, even drones have become a kind of course in itself. Trust me, I will love doing science better with alternative careers. But in those days, we didn't have such choices. It was tough, it was hard, we had to learn. You know, no one taught us. It was double Dutch to us in some way or another because it was new. We were experimenting, we were understanding the crowd. But at the end of the day, we loved it, we enjoyed it, however bad we were initially. We loved it, we enjoyed it because I loved music. And I think the passion in something when you love, you turn up excelling it. Not only music today, but you know, after a certain period of time, I got into operations and I started setting up radio stations, technically got into setting up radio stations internationally, advising international radio stations in terms of how they should set it up, how they should understand their crowd. So it's been a beautiful learning experience. And all of it comes from the passion because I love music. You know, there's so much more to say, but I think I should just kind of cut it in here and say, if you love something, go ahead, live your dream. Even if it's as a extracurricular, do it. Who knows? It could become a career. Those days, RJs used to get 150 rupees for a 1-hour show. Today, some of the top RJs in the country, if one is looking at, you know, careers and one is looking at being successful, are making something like 1.2 crores annually as returns. So radio as a business or anything as a business is not small. It depends on how big you make it. It depends on how successful you can be. And trust me, if you're passionate about something, I don't think anyone can stop you from being successful. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Jimmy. Come on, that was lovely. Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. I suppose the first thing, just to touch on something you mentioned at the very end, and it's just perhaps the way we talk about things. You've said about extracurricular. I noticed a few of the young people earlier talked about extracurricular. And I suppose that's something that we have to get away from, that language in a way, is that language suggests that it's outside of the mainstream, that it's something that you know, that you can do when you're free. And so many of those subjects that people talk about as being extracurricular are actually as important or as equally as important as what we consider to be mainstream curricula. So we perhaps there's a language issue that we can start working on and changing and making sure that that those things are seen as being normal, as routine, as part of the mainstream. We share the mistake. Certainly for me, my career, my life has been littered with mistakes or things that I didn't expect to turn out quite the way they did. You know, you read if you read management books, you know, it's okay to make mistakes, but always learn from them. Yeah, okay, I don't always learn from them either. So there's lots of mistakes in life. It shouldn't be seen as a negative thing. It's part of learning, it's part of growing, it's part of how we develop, how we become rounded, how we develop, which a lot of people have talked about today, empathy. If you never make a mistake, then you never learn anything, perhaps. This idea of being believed in, I think, is so important. As parents, as teachers, as guides, as mentors, those of us who work with young people, work with any people really. I made a big change in my life when I was in my 30s, and I supported. It's not only that young people need that encouragement. Today, our lives rarely will be one career that we stick to forever. So we always need to be supporting each other. We always need to be encouraging. And like family help a child who wants to be a DJ, it's important that we all support each other and we create these supportive environments for people to live in and exist in.
Paul, I just want to say one thing. When I started radio, I was nearing 30. You know, so I didn't realize I would be getting into radio. And when I was, actually, one important thing was when I got into DJing just after class 10, simultaneously I was also doing my studies and my career. I finished my BCom honors, you know, but my passion for music and my love for music actually got me to simultaneously study, since you were studying, and living my passion or living my dream.
Exactly. So it's about being, when we talk about polymaths, we can take up a musical instrument when we're 60, we can learn a new language when we're 30, we can become a photographer, which we'll turn to next, even if we're also a paediatrician. Sumitra, Dr. Dutta, please tell us a little bit about your story and about your dreams.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for making me here. And so it's a pleasure being here today. My story is slightly different, actually. To me, photography and medicine are sort of my twin sons. I can't love one more than the other. I mean, it has been, they intermingle with each other. Previously, we always used to think that science and creativity are separate themes and they can't blend into each other. But when I started, actually, I started off being an engineer. I was in the IITs for about a couple of months before I left for medicine. That's because my father wanted me to be. But I actually loved his decision, because once I went into medicine, I realized that there were lots of other things that actually was helping me to express myself. I realized that medicine is not a science, actually. It's more of an art where you sort of, you know, you get to understand the person's, not the disease, but the diseased much more. So you treat not the disease, but the person who is having the disease. In other words, what I was trying to say is, I got an idea of the emotions that, you know, I loved handling emotions. And photography helped me with it. It helped me to sort of resurrect my vision. You know, every photographer, when he looks at an object, he thinks it slightly differently. He thinks, from which angle if I take this photograph, it will look much more serene, much more beautiful. I think that's something, it's very similar in medicine. I took up pediatrics just because of this. I wanted to be a pediatrician because I wanted to take care of those children who couldn't express themselves. And trust me, 90% of pediatrics that I do, 90% of it is not medicines. It's just the way I talk to the parents. I make them feel that, yes, your child will become all right. And that's a very important thing. I have the privilege of watching the wonderful sort of emotional relationships, and often that tells me a story. My birth of photography, if I could say, started off in a peculiar way. I was stranded. I still used to take photographs with a Electro 35, a very premier Yashica camera at that point of time. This was in my very early college days. And I was stranded on a street in North Calcutta where it was raining, and I was stranded in one of the shops. I was too afraid to go out in the rain just because of the fact that you know, the rain would spoil my camera. And suddenly I noticed there was this poor lady breastfeeding her little one. And she was expressing the milk out from the other breast. It was dropping there. There was a small kitten. She was licking it. I just couldn't behold. I just took out my camera and snapped it. And that was a photograph that changed my life, that changed my passion. I put it up. There wasn't any sort of, net and other things at that point of time. There was a lovely exhibition at Progyananda Pathagar, which was in Maulani. And the next day, it was in the paper. It was in newspapers. I received phone calls from so many people, not because I'd done a great job, but it captured something which actually melted out the passions with a lot of people. And that day I decided that I must be on the streets. And I loved it. Since then, I love to see little babies, little children laughing, crying. They're getting depressed, they're getting angry, and I love to pick them up. So it's this human element that has been with me all through, and that has helped me in my practice as well. The moment a child is born, I love to take my photographs on the roads. Even in the OTs, you will see some of the photos taken in the OT. When the child is born, I don't see the face, I see the fingers. And they help me to tell a story. So I think by taking up photography as a passion, I have blended it with medicine. And that has helped me a lot to sort of pursue my dream. My dream is to treat children. I've seen so many poor children. I cater to mostly the elite class, but I see quite a lot of children working in sort of living in slums and all that. And I see that driving force behind them. In spite of the hunger, in spite of the pain, in spite of the disease, they smile. And I find this is a fantastic opportunity that God has given me. If I could capture those sublime moments, those ethereal moments, and maybe present to people, So I think, to me, photography and my medicine go hand in hand. They're like twins to me, and I can't live with one only.
Follow that. Twin sons, yeah, you think about twin sons, and I suppose that's what the subject today is about, being polymath, and it's having more than one passion. And what an incredible passion, and very distracting that we're sitting here with all these amazing images coming up. And I'd like to just another round of applause actually, because those photographs are absolutely incredible. And whatever you do in medicine, that is amazing and incredible. Thank you. Yeah, I'm now sort of disturbed slightly. Just made me smile, made me just feel so happy seeing those pictures. And I love that idea, that moment, that feeling, that passion. I love that idea of passion, and that's what motivates me, is when you see that passion in a child, when you see that passion in anybody, it's incredible. But when you see that passion and you capture it, which is even more incredible, in a young person, is something that's incredibly motivating and motivates me every single day. So I thank you for giving us that experience of seeing that in a visual form. It's incredible. So we have twin sons, and I suppose we now come to our kind of final guest on the panel, and that's where we have the true polymath, because he's a mixologist. So he just doesn't deal in one passion or two passions, but he brings a load of passions together to create something extraordinary, something that we all enjoy. Irfan, please tell us your story. Tell us how you got where you are. Share with us your passions and what keeps you going every day.
To be quite honest with you, I'm very thrilled and privileged and honored at the same time to be here. Sorry, Jimmy, for the voice competition.
Actually, you should take up radio sometime.
No, I've got my passion and dreams in the perfect place. To be honest with you, my dream is your dream. That's what we mixologists are all about. Your emotions are my emotions. When you go into a bar or a restaurant, be it beverage, be it food, overall it's hospitality industry. And to be hospitality is to be hospitable, and that is to be able, and thereafter being capable. So my passion actually started not while making my drinks or serving a whiskey out or a vodka out or giving my drinks quickly. The passion began when I could not make my guests happy. When I saw a guest or a customer walking out unsatisfied, they came in sad, they came in disturbed into the bar, and they walked out in the same status of mind. And I would go back home with these questions in my head, and I started looking beyond that then. And I realized that we talk about passion, passion, passion. Now, to me, passion is not about what I am doing, but it is about what I'm going to do beyond that. It's how I'm going to touch people so that they may recognize me, and in the memory, I can dent in somewhere. No matter where they are, I ever meet them in my life or I don't meet them, but they don't forget me. So to me, that is what personally living a dream is, that I might meet somebody just once in my profession. And I want to leave that little bit of impression for 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds maybe, that I am remembered. And now coming back to multiple tasking and polymath that you're all discussing or listening to a lot of talks going on here. Now, to me, I guess when they walk in, they're into a different state of mind. You know, some have just got divorced, some got married, somebody's had a child, somebody lost a job, somebody got a job, so on and so forth and so on. So besides just pouring a drink, serving a drink, now we are to communicate. We are to talk to you and to understand your frame of mind. So please understand that every time you visit a bar and you see somebody, and today I must just add a small figure to what the bartenders earn. It is no more a bearer's job, let me tell you that first. You'll be shocked to know these guys might not even be class 12 pass, but they take home anywhere between 50 to 60,000 rupees a month. And that is a fact. Now, in the same industry, we are having people who are educated now, hospital management people, people from IIHM, people from other institutes, people from so many other hospitality background with management degrees coming in. And that's how the mixologist word came in. Earlier, we were bartenders and bearers. Hey, mera drink leke aana. So to me, that's a big dream come true. Now it's, excuse me, Mr. Irfan, can I have a moment with you, please? Would you like, please make me this drink for me? And I'm like, wow, that feels good. So it's what I make of myself. To me, that is what living a dream is. It is not about my yesterday. It is not going to be about my tomorrow. To me, living a dream is right now, this moment. And honestly speaking, I'm living my dream right now with y'all, without any thought about my past, without any thought how I'm going to go home when it starts raining. And that is what my profession has taught me, that leave the rest. Just enjoy the moment. And I think enjoying the moment is living a dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Irfan. Really good. And sort of summed up, I think, points that each talker has made. I love this idea of passion. I think that when we're talking to young people, when we're working with our colleagues, with our friends, talking to family, that we have to think about passion and what our passions are, and communicate and allow people to communicate what they are, allow young people to communicate what their dreams are, what they feel they want to do, and to be able to do that in a very supportive environment. I think that's what has been shared here, is that idea that we have to support each other, that even if I'm making a change when I'm 30, when I'm 40, when I'm doing something that's not the mainstream, when I'm 15, 14, making that big decision, we have to be supportive and listen. And so communication, passion, and that respect for what somebody's thinking of and choosing, respect and support. We have a little bit of time, I think, for some questions. Do we have any questions for the three icons, the three dreaming icons of Calcutta? Question at the very back. Do we have a microphone anywhere? please introduce yourself and have a microphone. Where's our microphonologist? Yes, he could be, couldn't he?
Thank you so much. My name is Abhishek Datta. I run an organization which is into alternate careers. With the topic which says living your dreams, the kind of thing that I get from the students is, students usually come to us and they inquire about a course. But the main concern is, how do I go back and convince my parents? And that is where there's the biggest hindrance that is there. And because it is not a mainstream kind of a course, it is an alternate course, most of the parents say, you go for a BA, BSc or a BCom kind of course. Why do you want to enroll in such a course? So what is your suggestion to educators like us, as in how do we make this a part of the mainstream more and more? Because students have the interest, but...
What was the course? Sorry, we didn't...
alternate careers. So basically we are into designing.
Oh, alternative careers. Any quick answers? Jimmy?
See, irrespective, I think about 70 to 80% of the time, especially when your child has just finished his class 11 or going into class 10 or finished his class 12 and want to do something else, parents generally have their reservations, because at that particular point they feel, I think I know best for my kid. He's talented, he loves art, but I think he should take up. Now, you'll be surprised. I think it's important. You all are dealing with the students most of the time. Start dealing with the parents also. Because if you're running an institute with alternative careers and the students want to do something, you all are in a better position to convince the parents by seeing or telling their parents what the child can do, maybe doing an audition test with the child, coming out with certain facts, sitting down with the parents. And I'll tell you a small thing which happened on radio. I had a girl phoning me up, literally crying, on a Friday night. And she was saying that, Jimmy, I love fashion designing, but unfortunately my dad is not allowing me to do it, And in the meanwhile, on that particular show, there were a lot of students who were giving a call and talking about how they're living the dreams, how they love what I do. What I did is, live on air, I told the girl, I said, is your dad there? I would love to talk to him, He also saw that the other kids, many of them are living their dream. 3 weeks later, I get a call from that girl, just saying, I would like to thank you guys, because it's for you guys. She's in NIFT now. She is among the top 3 students performing, and her dad and parents are truly happy. So I think there has to be a parent connect somewhere. We just can't leave it aside.
Yeah, I think there's another thing I would like to add here. We have an institute where we teach photography only for amateurs, only for people who want to pursue it as a dream. Okay, and the way we wanted to sort of actually propagate this was going to schools and talking to class 12, class 11 guys and telling them that you don't have to spend your time on the mobile phone. Pick it up as an alternative career. You take this as a passion, build it up. You don't have to give up your education or whatever you plan to do, but build it up. You never know. Maybe someday you're going to switch, or maybe blend. Luckily, I could do that, but maybe blend the two together. I think a good place to go for is the schools and the senior classes of the school, and maybe, as he said rightly, to speak to the parents.
Now these days, there are a lot of institutes, and I've seen it happening, actually calling the kids with their parents, So parents will understand the benefits today. Very, very important, because ultimately till the child is an adult, like 18 years old, parents are supporting, parents are guiding. So when they see that spark in a child's career, or when they see that spark in a child, I'll be very honest, my son has taken up science. He's in La Martiniere. He loves gaming, not just playing games. He's into sketching, animation, and he wants to actually build his own games on the lines of a PS4 or an Xbox X. And unfortunately, though he's taken up science, there is no course in India, or there's no subject which actually brings about in a management of a gaming industry in India. So there is the spark in kids. You have to make the parents see it. And the only way it can be done, we mostly engage with the students, we mostly convince the students. I think it's time we convince the parents and we engage with the parents, because you know your subject, you know your careers, you know the plus points you need to get across. And rightly said, hitting out schools, but ensuring that you also call the parents with the students.
I think absolutely it's about engaging with the parents, and I think it's worth also just noting the parents aren't wrong. I think that every parent worries about their child, what their career will be.
Add one thing, the alternative career when they're coming to you, are they coming for financial reason, or they coming and looking at a passion and from there they want to grow ahead? There's a difference in that also. Today most students who are approaching you are coming for money. They want a career out of it and they want a job. क्योंकि उनको पहले नौकरी नहीं मिल रही है, अभी डबल ग्रेजुएशन कर लिया, MBA कर लिया, सब कर लिया, थक गए. नौकरी मिल रही 15,000, 18,000, 20,000, 25,000. भाई अब आप हमारे भगवान हो, आप कुछ कर दो हमारे लिए. If that is the reason, then it's a big failure. So screening, as Jimmy also said, screening both the parents and the child or the student together and actually understanding, then giving them multiple windows. Do you try plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E? Whereby, see, you're also the question as an organization and an institution. You are not there also, I hope you're not there to make money. Obviously, there to make money, but you're there to guide them in career-wise. So if I come to you, boss, हमें ना A पता है ना B पता, हमको डॉक्टर बनना है. Alternative medicine आप सिखा दो हमें. So I can get misguided by a lot of these leech companies outside.
No, I agree with Irfan to a large extent, because, when we do a lot of these workshops, especially in college levels and plus 2 levels. So when we ask the kids, who are really interested in music or radio, first thing they want, they want to be an RJ. And the reason why, because you tend to become popular, famous, and make pots of money. No. I think the understanding and the connect is important. That are you passionate about it? Do you love about it? Are you dreaming about it? It's great to love something, but are you seriously interested about it? So I think somewhere at all levels of education, like today, institutions, why do they have parent-teacher meetings? They advise the parents also, not just tell the parents about your son is not doing well, but your son has got so much of capabilities. He's doing so much. He's brilliant in art. So I think that engagement with the parents, it's like one mama and papa who's in school, who's like a mama and papa to us, with another mama papa who's in the house. And somewhere I feel the frequency will match. There are some parents who are difficult. They have made up their minds. No way. But trust me, in a process of time, they can be convinced. And I think that's important.
Very true.
Very good, very good. I think there was another question over here, or it's gone. Question is still there. Any more questions? Everybody's... There we go. Great. Microologist.
So I think this is for all three panelists. While there was an infectious optimism in the way you described the choice of the alternate career and how you went and pursued it and success of it, the reality is most people who are in day jobs today are holding on to something, are latching on to it because it gives a salary and because it gives comfort. So an alternate option is either a hobby or it's much, much higher risk. So from your experiences, as it has been, like your first experiences being a DJ and the failures that you had, the experience is not rosy because it's a dream and you're pursuing it and everything is nice, but there are sleepless nights and fear or other elements that constantly are there because you're pursuing the dream. Can you talk about your experience of how you handle those and how do you balance the optimism to the realities of...
Let me put it this way. I think I was one of the lucky few who started off when there were hardly any DJs. So I didn't realize, how good you need to be. I just remember that you need to play music, to be very honest. And there were no failures as such. It was a tough time learning, because no one to teach you, no equipment. All you had to understand, you had to press buttons and of course, know the music. Understand the crowd. It's not just about playing music. It's ultimately like a hospitality industry. You mix the right drink and give it to the guy, and he loves the way you mix the drink and he enjoys it. He comes back for a second one. So same way, It was how you engage with the people, how you interact with the people on the dance floor, the kind of music you play, and then when you turn up talking, it's whether how you rap, how you put a request forward, and the same thing also went on to radio. Now, I really like to share one or two stories on radio which are real. In fact, I think being a DJ and further getting onto radio has made me a better human being also. Because I tend to come close to people, understand people, and over radio, we have millions of people getting in touch with us. Depression, issues, problems. I'll tell you a small story which happened to me. And sometimes it kind of brings a shock to me many a time. I got a call at 1:30 in the night from a young class 12 guy. And the minute I picked up the phone and spoke to him, we take live calls, nothing is recorded. The first line he said, "Jimmy, I want to die." So I was zapped and I was thinking, "Yaar, 1:30 baje raat ko, I'm a little tired." And the first thing I hear on the phone from a guy that he doesn't want to live anymore. So what happens is we are good conversationists and we tend to beautifully converse with people because you need to listen. So I was conversing with him and I was asking him why. He said, what to do, mom's too busy in her kitty parties, dad's so busy in business, my sister's on her own trip, I don't have a friend in my own family. So I said, why don't you think about your class 2 school friends? He said, he said one thing which hit me. He said, when I don't have a friend at my own house, what can I expect from outside? And while he was talking, there was a lot of breeze blowing. So I was very curious. I said, what's this noise? He was talking to me, standing on the ledge of the 4th floor, looking down 4 floors, with a phone in his hand. This happened about 12 to 15 years ago. Phones had just come in, approximately. I still remember 97, 98, 99, that time. He was from a well-to-do family. I spoke, and I spoke. I spoke for 15 minutes live on air. I convinced him, got him to get down and come to his room. All he required was someone to talk, someone to hear him out. That solved 80% of the problem. And I'm so happy to say today, and I'm really proud to say that same gentleman, when I meet up with him, he's one of the biggest lawyers in the Calcutta High Court. And whenever I meet up with him, he says, "Jimmy, radio gave me a second life." So there's so much you come up with, So as we said, life moves on. You get to learn. Anything in life, the bar graph will always move up and down. You may have the highs, you may have the lows. If you give up, whether it be studies, whether it be profession, whether it be career, you're normally finished here. Everybody wants to excel, and I think that in itself is a passion which makes you do well. Because as I said, life is never easy. It's how easy you make it. The waves in the water, they never go straight, They only move forward when they go up and down. So one must believe in that. It's each individual. Some are successful, some may not be so successful, but with guidance, with teachers, with family, with support, as Paul said, you need to be there. You need to kind of push. Today I thought I was playing great music. I only realized I was playing great music when someone came up to me and said, "Jimmy, wow, we are really enjoying, dancing to your music." I said, "Chalo yaar, I am playing some decent stuff." So it's a matter of time. And I think important in life is we are so impatient. Today's youth, when I interview them, I've been 25 years plus in radio. When I interview a guy who comes to take up radio as a career, he wants to jump the ladder and go right into the top in 1.5 years. He says, "Boss, I want to be the president of the company in 1 year." And I tell him, "Baby, it took me 25 years to get here." So I think it's time to understand, not just be passionate about something, but be patient about it. And it's a two-way traffic. We got to all hold hands and walk. You can't clap with one hand, you can only clap with two hands. I just hope it's answered a small portion of your question. You want to say something?
The only thing I would say is something which is different and maybe out of tune. But honestly, it is very difficult practically to sort of marry two things at the same time. I mean, I have to be honest here. I must get a job. I have to work. I have to maintain a family. So yes, the passion is there, should be there. I think if somebody could, in the early sort of years of his life, before he sort of leaves school, sort of think about what his passions are and maybe sort of select something where his passion would help him to go. Maybe sort of help him a little bit in his career. So somebody who doesn't like science doesn't need to have science. Somebody who loves to hear the sound of the rain needs to study literature. I mean, there's no point in sort of pursuing some machines that he wouldn't be comfortable with. But at the same time, you cannot just look after and think that this is your career and this is your end. Because this is only one life, and that's what I believe in. And I'm living each day of it. And I'm living it for myself, to be honest with you. In spite of everything I do, it's my life. And I have to take control of my life. So the passion has to be there, the career has to be there. They just have to walk like tram lines together. And I wish it is for everybody.
I just add 2 words to that, and that is sacrifice and belief in yourself. If you can do these 2 things, as you correctly said, I teach in a lot of colleges as well, and third-year students have no clue where they want to be, how much they want to earn, by which year they want to retire, when they're going to go on a world cruise. See, seriously, I'm telling you. And I'm quite surprised and taken aback that some of them have not even started saving.
But tell me
and
one
this is
thing
thanks to the parents. Seriously, thanks to the parents.
Absolutely.
And I'll just add one thing. I'm a mechanical student, an engineer by profession, qualification rather, not profession. And in 1989, I left a job of 7,500 while I was working for Indira Gandhi Steel Plant, Bathinda, National Fertilizer Limited, Tega India Limited, New Alipo. On my way to work was Taj Bengal coming up. And I told myself, मुझे यही काम करनी है यार, मुझे होटलियर बनना है. इंटरव्यू में गए, 550 मिलेगा, selected. 650 लोगों पे 50 लोगों की सिलेक्शन हुई. हाँ जी मैम मैं करूँगा, without even knowing what's my designation. चिट्ठी मिली हाथ में, 550 रुपये स्टाइपेंड, 550 रुपये स्टाइपेंड, डेजिग्नेशन ट्रेनी असिस्टेंट अप्रेंटिस स्टूवर्ड. समझ में नहीं आया, नेवर माइंड यार, होटल में काम करना है मेरे को बस. So sacrifice and belief. Kids today, and I'm not saying just for myself, I've seen my friends, we work together, honestly speaking. I was in Junction and he was in Incognito. So I used to go rob his CDs and cassettes to play at the Junction bar.
Yes, you.
So that is it, was sacrifice and belief. If I don't want to sacrifice by today, and I want to be 2 things tomorrow, I only want that.
And when you're talking about sacrifice, it's not just sacrifice, it's a tough life. You can't expect to work from 9 to 5 and say, wow, boss, I'm relaxed. You know, you have to time manage. You have to time manage between profession. You have to time manage between work and family. I remember when I started off in radio, we used to work 72 hours at a stretch. And today when the new guys come in after 8 hours, they feel tired, yaar. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I'm saying is rightly, we need to be aggressive, we need to sacrifice, we need to time manage, and we need to be patient. Because wherever there's a will, there's a way. And if you believe in yourself, trust me, no one can stop you from succeeding. It will take a little time, but it will happen. And I've seen a lot of people's dreams come true when they believed in themselves, they've been consistent, though there have been failures as they moved up and down. At the end of the day, I know of RJs who have been now 8 to 10 years into the profession, came in with no knowledge, came in with not knowing how to speak, but they were consistent, they were aggressive, they were go-getting, and they were persistent, and today they're some of the top RJs in the country. So I think, you know, the mantra is very clear. You can't expect all your 5 fingers to be the same. Mr. A, Mr. B, and Mr. C will have different thought processes, basically.
Lovely, lovely. Irfan, Jimmy, Sumitra, so thank you ever so much for being the panel. Audience, thank you ever so much for listening. Big round of applause for the panel. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thanks a ton.
Thank you. But before closing this session, our ritual, we are happy to offer our token of appreciation on behalf of the chamber. May I request Dr. Subarna Bosch to be on the dais, please. I also request Dr. Shudipta De to come up to the dais and hand over a few mementos. Request Dr. De to hand over the memento to Irfan Ahmed. Request Dr. Bose to hand over a memento to Dr. Soumitra Datta. Request Dr. Bose to hand over a memento to Mr. Jimmy Tangre. We are so thankful to each of them because of their busy schedule. They've took up time and came here. We are so thankful, and really thanks to Mr. Paul Walsh for such a wonderful session and moderating it so interestingly. We are now going to our last session of the morning half. After that, we have Mr. Ruskin Bond with us from 6. This session, we will learn about real intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And to share the experience, we have Mr. Anupam Datta from PricewaterhouseCoopers, who will share his views on real intelligence in the time of artificial intelligence. Thank you so much. Can we request Mr. Datta to be on the dais?